as far as achievement is concerned, as you look at the latest census, you will see the province with the lowest population growth rate is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The lowest. Now,
good.
I want to speak openly and honestly here. So what does confuse me though is that the same set of figures show that the highest fertility rate is in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So I don't know what to believe. So I think I can tell you that we made an effort. But this, it is both surprising and not surprising, because when you can manufacture election results, you can manufacture population numbers, you can manufacture economy numbers, you can do whatever you like. But I think if we just try and focus on this issue, I'll tell you in the context of what needs to be done, because I think we certainly worked, and you see it in some of those figures. But I think if you take a different approach, you can do a lot more quickly. And I just want to spell out those 2 or 3 things in the interest of implementation. Mm-hmm. The first thing is money. Money is not a problem. Anyone who says that financing for population is a problem, just look at the figures. I think, as you said, as the country head of the World Bank said, and I had slightly different calculations, but broadly the same. If all we need to do is to take family planning spending from 40 billion rupees a year and increase that 3x, that's 80 billion over 4 provinces. That's not a lot. In fact, I'll tell you where the money is as well. It actually shows you how the donors and development partners and our governance model, as the IMF's and the World Bank report recently said, are both failing Pakistan. The money is there. The IMF is making the provinces of Pakistan actually put that money aside by saying leave 1,500 billion rupees as a surplus. Mm-hmm. So the money is there. We're saying population is such a big issue. The head of the World Bank is here. I'm sure there are representatives from the IMF. If not, I'm sure the reports say the same thing. Why aren't they willing to allow the provinces to spend that extra 80 billion? Why aren't the 4 provinces in the federal government going to these 2 institutions and saying, let us spend that 80 billion from there? Right? So that's the first issue, is that for many actual issues, when you actually try and work out the numbers, it's not a big deal. Right? That 80 billion rupees will take us from 165 rupees per head to 500 rupees per head. Problem solved. The second issue is where the money is spent. And I'll tell you, this is where the challenge comes when you're trying to work as a change agent in government. As you rightly said, Mushahid Saab, there was an initiative led by President Talvi on family planning. And I think he called all the chief ministers and all the chief secretaries. And as a result, we had a summary proposal to the cabinet on improving family planning. And I remember, I think the figure...
10 billion.
10 billion.
10 billion.
I thought I had it wrong. You've just...
10 billion.
Now, I remember in that cabinet meeting asking the chief secretary, can he break down what the 10 billion is for? And that will tell you the state of governance or the state of capacity in our institutions and in our bureaucracy. And maybe because we erode that capacity in every... hybrid intervention after every hybrid intervention. You're going to get me into jail for talking and all this, but...
you are secure for the time being, till further orders.
Take his word. So, for new family planning centers.
Oh my God.
And I said, this is ridiculous. We're going to be procuring land for the next 10 years, and then that land is going to, the land procurement is going to go to the courts, and in the end, we're going to pay another 50 billion because we procure this at DC rates. And why don't we just buy contraceptives of whatever amount you want, and we can actually fulfill the unmet need? And then whether you need 10 billion or 2 billion or 3 billion, just take it. This particular conference has reminded me that the chief secretary never came back with a proposal. Right? And I think that just shows you the paucity of thinking, because I was reading up on the Bangladesh success story, and a large part of it was they decided to simply distribute contraceptives at every doorstep.
Directly.
right? We have that staff. We have polio workers. We have community health workers. We can do that any time. We don't. So how to spend that money is also clear. The third thing that is a governance issue, and I realized this when I was health minister. In fact, what I did at the time was I told my staff that every BHU, every primary healthcare center must, in its set of key metrics, have family planning as one of them. Because by bifurcating family planning or population planning or whatever we want to call it from health, we have actually created this need to buy land for new family planning centers, to recruit more staff for helping with family planning when all the staff exists within the health setups. So the third action that needs to be taken is to have the population or family planning departments integrated with health, so you can use the benefit of the health ecosystem that already exists. And my last point is the enablers around all this. And that enabler is where I disagree with you on the NFC is, right? That while the 80 billion on population may be a small figure, what actually drives a reduction in the fertility rate? Better education, better health, increased economic prosperity. You see it, including in Pakistan, where the economic development is high, education will be high, and the fertility rate drops. But how do you improve education and health outcomes? Education spending is 2% of GDP. There is a consensus in the country, including in many conferences like this, that it should be at least 4% of GDP. That is another 2 trillion rupees that the provinces need to spend. Health spending is less than 1% of GDP, doubling it to 2% of GDP, which is still below global developing country benchmarks, less than half of global development country benchmarks, is another 1 trillion rupees. We need to give the provinces 3 trillion rupees across health and education to get more teachers. If anyone's seen hospitals in the periphery of Pakistan, people stay away from them because of the quality of infrastructure in them, because we don't believe in Pakistan in spending in what we called, when I was at McKinsey, OPEX, operational expenditure. We build structures and then we leave them to rot. So if we were actually to invest that in health and education, we need to increase the size of the NFC pie so that the provinces get more. Now, that doesn't mean that the federal government doesn't have a hole to break gap, but the answer is not to take 1 trillion rupees from the provinces and give them to the federal government, because it will further impact service delivery. It will actually mean that finding the 80 to 100 billion for population will become an issue, because the provinces will be 1 trillion rupees shorter than they are today. That discussion isn't happening. The only discussion I see happening is that the provinces are flush with cash and the federal government is broke. The provinces are not flush with cash if you actually want to invest in the development of Pakistan, and this is particularly true in the smaller provinces. By the way, the last thing on this, change the NFC, change it from the population, but that does not necessarily mean, that cannot mean that the more backward provinces get less. Because if you look at any definition of any instrument such as the NFC, its primary objective is fiscal equalization. Sindh can generate revenue from the port. Punjab can generate revenue because it's the population hub and the breadbasket of Pakistan and hence attracts industry. Balochistan is a massive challenge, and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the two competitive advantages that we potentially have: one, trade with Afghanistan is closed, it's a policy decision. Two, we can actually be the energy hub of the country, but energy is being taken away from the provinces, whether it's gas or whether it's electricity. And therefore, we are that little northwest corner that gets blamed for things, but that the center doesn't fund or realize that it has actually landlocked into a set of conditions where for us to develop our economy in the way that we can, The state of Pakistan doesn't allow us and tells us it's in the national interest, right?
Right.
So if you are actually going to shift the NFC, last sentence, and I looked at India's formula today, because people keep quoting that India has moved away from population as a primary factor. Mm-hmm. It has, but what is the element of the formula that gets the greatest proportion of NFC sharing in India? It's something called tax gap. Mm-hmm. That means, no sir, it means that the states in India that are the furthest behind in revenue generation get the greatest share because of this need
level
for fiscal equalization.
Thank you very much.
50%.
I think, Taimur Sahab, you also hit the nail on the head. Very good. Especially on the issue of, it's not about money, it's about the political willingness to do this and also the role of the bureaucracy.